Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Beau again. So today, we're going to talk about 38 trillion and Trump's debt growing faster and faster. We had a question come in, and I'm sure there are more people who didn't catch the videos explaining this when it was happening. I'll put one of them down below in the description. So, here's the question. Miss Bell, this might be a dumb question, but how is our debt going up faster than ever before, after all of Trump's cuts in the One Big Beautiful Bill, and while the government is shut down? This is crazy. Okay, if you missed the news driving this, the U.S. gross national debt hit 37 trillion in August. It now hit 38 trillion in October. It isn't exactly faster than ever before. There was a period during the pandemic when we picked up $1 trillion in debt faster. But outside of that, yeah, it's the fastest ever. So how is that happening? Okay, so the government being shut down generally ends up costing the government money in the end. But beyond that, it doesn't cut as much in costs as you might imagine in the short term. But the biggest misunderstanding in the message is the One Big Beautiful Bill. Republicans told everybody it cut the deficit. That was only true on paper. It didn't. It increased the deficit. Republicans changed the accounting practice to sell it to their base. Normally, budget packages use a baseline called current law. That's a strict interpretation of the laws and statutes when calculating future deficits. So if hypothetically, the current law had some tax cuts expiring, it would show increased tax revenue because those tax cuts wouldn't exist anymore. Republicans didn't like that baseline because even after ripping away help for those in need and cutting assistance programs for the working class and so on, they were still adding trillions to the debt. So, did they alter the expensive policies they wanted? No, of course not. Those were tax cuts that helped the rich. They just changed the way they counted and played their base. Instead of using current law, they used current policy. Current policy would say that since the tax cuts currently existed, they would exist forever, even though the law had them expiring. So the tax cuts for the rich didn't count as decreased revenue on paper, but they absolutely decreased the amount the government took in real life. Less revenue means the debt goes up faster. What's interesting is that while they used current policy to cook the books and hide the cost of extending tax cuts for the rich, they didn't do that when it came to the ACA credits for working class people to help them afford health care. They've shut down the government to avoid helping the working class. They'll cook the books to hide the cost of extending tax cuts for the rich, and then they'll shut down the government and damage the economy to make sure working class commoners don't feel like they're entitled to medical care. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.